Welcome to the Situation Room. We have breaking news.
I'm Jim Bitterman in Paris, and this is CNN.
Inside Africa, in association with Zenith Bank.
Africa is home to many of the world's most iconic wildlife species, but a good number of these stunning creatures are threatened with extinction.
The single challenge to conservation is one word: space.
Now the fight to save them is getting a major boost.
We've seen now that how much we can actually use technology to our benefit.
Conservationists are utilizing an array of tech tools to help secure protected areas.
If we have really appropriate technology, we are able to do more with less.
Allowing researchers to monitor the most vulnerable species like never before.
We need to understand a species to conserve them.
This is the evolution of wildlife conservation. This is Inside Africa. South Africa is home to world-renowned national parks and game reserves, where conservationists, scientists, and information technologists are collaborating to preserve these national treasures.
I thought I'd come along and look at putting a technology solution together and terming it connected conservation. And what that did effectively was put people, animals and technology all together and try and solve a problem that we are faced with worldwide in terms of saving species.
Armed with years of professional know-how, IT executive Doc Watson had an idea for a pilot program in the country.
We could do a conservation project in a private game reserve alongside the Kruger National Park and come up with a design, put people in place to run those networks, and those are the operational teams on the ground, allowing the animals to roam freely in their natural habitat.
In 2015, Watson launched the Connected Conservation Initiative to help protect wildlife by tracking the movement of people.
We had a tremendous amount of poaching in 2013 where we lost 51 rhino.
The group started by vastly improving the reserve's IT infrastructure with stronger and more reliable communications, which allowed for the implementation of new high-tech security features.
We designed this reserve area network, implemented it, and started running it in 2016. And in our first year of operations, we reduced poaching by 96%. I thought it was a great Internet of Things type solution.
Elsewhere, in a part of the greater Kruger Park known as the Sabi Sands, a conservation success story is unfolding, with technology playing a vital role.
Environmental management and protection, it's something really that you cannot do alone. You need to collaborate with other institutions. We need technology. It's there to really supplement and complement what we have.
New tools and practices have significantly limited poaching here, but the role of boots and paws on the ground can't be ignored.
The dog unit that we have, the reaction team, and other teams that we have, but we still need people to use that technology. And even once you have information or you detected something, you still need to get people to go out and deal with the situation. Technology alone would not be able to do that.
We face the ongoing threat of poaching every day, so we try to leverage everything we can. Force multipliers like technology are critically important to us, and being able to to react quickly to changes in the environment.
The team is coordinated here at the control room, the nerve center of the reserve.
Now we are done, over.
across Africa, these solutions are being used to improve what we do, improve on our effectiveness in the field, and also to protect lives.
The team at Sabi Sand agree that perhaps the main challenge lies just outside the reserve.
And if we can succeed in connecting communities with conservation, I think that can be our biggest success.
Conservation and environmental protection is for everyone. As long as we all work together, at the end of the day, we would be able to turn the tide and deal with the situation and making sure that conservation sustain and prevail in the future.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world, with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly, whenever, wherever, however. A bank with best-in-class financial solutions from a superb combination of technology and human touch for easy, fast, and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
To Tilly. When you were little, we decided to go on a great adventure and made a tiny travelling home. It has been so wonderful living simply, not needing toys, but finding magic in natural treasure. This life will always hold the most cherished memories. Keep listening to your heart and never lose your spirit of adventure.
On the next Living Golf, the crossover between the game and popular culture, featuring top names in entertainment and fashion.
That pursuit, knowing that, you know what, I've hit this shot before, I can do it again, that mentality is what keeps me completely enthralled in the sport.
Plus, Christopher McDonald discusses his role in the hit movie Happy Gilmore.
Join me, Shane O'Donoghue, on this month's Living Golf.
Next on CNN, in association with Golf Saudi.
This is the Sabi Sand Private Game Reserve, the oldest private game reserve in South Africa. It boasts one of the highest densities of leopard anywhere in the world.
Yeah, the Sabi Sand is an association of landowners, and our forefathers had great wisdom to say, let us work together and have a common land use practice. The single challenge to conservation is one word: space. If you create space, or as we say, safe haven, for animals to roam freely in, they will thrive, they will be fine.
Over time, Londolozi, one of the reserves within Sabi Sand, became a place where humans and leopards got to coexist.
Our relationship started with him in 1979 when my brother and a wonderful tracker, Elmon Mhlongo, for the first time were able to develop a relationship with a single female leopard.
Since then, generations of leopards have been seen and monitored here and across the Sabi Sand. For head ranger James Sushon, working here at the reserve is a childhood dream come true.
As a kid, I was watching videos filmed right here on the Sand River as the rangers of the time went searching for leopards. And so coming here, for me, it was incredibly special.
One innovation being tested here by Sushon and tracker Richard Mtabini is one that not only reduces their carbon footprint, it also allows visitors to get closer to the elusive big cats.
These electric game viewers are an absolute game changer. So you can quietly enter into an animal space without them reacting to you at all, and it just makes for a much more intimate, special encounter all round.
One of the key tenets of Londolozi is to use a combination of ancient wisdom, modern technology and nature to reconnect people back to the wilderness. And we began our journey back in 2009 with the Londolozi blog. And then as we came into lockdown, not having guests here gave us the opportunity to experiment with wildlife filmmaking in a way that we hadn't had an opportunity to do so before. The team set up a GoPro in a tree where a leopard had stashed a kill. And they set it up while she was off going to drink at a waterhole. And when she came back, the footage of a leopard mounting a tree from the perspective of being inside the tree was pretty memorable.
We had a wild dog den that really was, for me, the personal highlight. We were there every single day documenting their story, and people became invested in this pack of wild dogs.
You have a generation of young people growing up more enlightened and indeed more conscious and much more informed as to why it's essential that we look after these wild places.
Londolozi's neighbor to the west, Singita, a Shangaan word meaning place of miracles, is another of the Sabi sand reserves, where ongoing research is focused on leopards.
So the female up top here is the Scotia female. The young male that we just saw was one of her offsprings.
Singita has been at the heart of a program with Panthera using cutting-edge biotech to better understand the population here.
Panthera is a conservation organization. It's headquartered in New York, but that funds, oversees and implements projects on cat conservation all over the world.
Fundamentally, what this project aims to do is to grow and maintain a long-term leopard research site and use the information that we can learn from these leopards to inform conservation and broader policies in leopard management.
Today, Ross Cooper and tracker Johnson Mhlanga are looking not just for leopards, but for something they left behind: scat.
And it enables us to collect data for Panthera. And with the collection of data, it's enabled them not only to have a spatial reference to the movement of species in this area, but also to extract DNA from scat samples that we've been able to collect.
The scat is sent to a team at Inqaba Biotechnical Industries in Pretoria, led by Dr. Christian Labuskaghni.
Once a scat sample arrives here, it gets assigned a number and entered into the database. And from there we do a DNA extraction. We do 17 different markers as well as a sex determinator. So we can tell from the scat whether it was a male leopard or a female leopard. It would take us about 3 to 5 days to process from receiving a scat sample to getting the actual DNA profile.
The unique data being collected by the team at Panthera provides important insight into the lives of the elusive leopards, while serving as a baseline to inform future conservation efforts.
Technology is becoming essential for modern-day conservation and to gather information that we couldn't get by any other means. This is critical when you're working with endangered species. So using the example of the leopard scat, the animal wasn't immobilized, it wasn't handled by humans, it wasn't disrupted in its daily life at all. And yet we managed to get DNA from a byproduct of that animal without disrupting it at all.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world, with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly, whenever, wherever, however. A bank with best-in-class financial solutions from a superb combination of technology and human touch. For easy, fast and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
We try to be
global and we try to be smart. What I want to hear are authentic voices of people who are passionate or intelligent, and that's the consistency that we try to get at.
Fareed Zakaria GPS, Sunday on CNN.
I'm Clarissa Ward.
I'm Vedika Sood.
I'm Sam Kiley.
In New Delhi.
The New Delhi.
In Delhi.
And this.
And this.
And this is CNN.
In the ongoing battle to protect South Africa's national parks, private game reserves, and the animals that inhabit them, conservationists are beginning to rely more and more on new tools.
Technology in conservation has a critically important part to play.
Here, in the Mpumalanga province, a new generation of natural resource managers are being trained in the evolving practices of conserving Africa's wildlife.
So one of the key things about the technology in conservation at the moment is the speed at which it's developing. And this is the role of the college and why having this hub at the college and having students come through us is really important.
Along with the latest hardware and software, the Southern African Wildlife College is also justifiably proud of its award-winning dog unit.
We have a really great canine unit here, which intersects nicely with my job with the technology. So the dogs are used to track poachers, to track animals of concern, and the collars on the dogs are used to be able to map where they are and how they've responded and where they go.
The college employs a range of software tools focusing on the most accessible and appropriate for those working in conservation.
EarthRange is an easy-to-use online software that helps you collect, integrate, and visualize your data. And one is able to see where the animals are and see where the incursions are, all in real time. And so that can improve your reaction time.
EarthRanger was developed by Vulcan, the company founded by Microsoft co-founder, tech pioneer, and philanthropist Paul Allen. Though it's now widely used around the world, new ideas like this one aren't always immediately welcomed by those on the ground.
Most people who actually get into conservation don't really want to be around technology. They actually like the bush and they like to get their hands dirty. So sometimes people then fear to pick up a new technology.
Amongst a number of development partners, the Wildlife College works with a US-based non-profit that aims to get anyone from anywhere engaged in conservation efforts.
Wildlife Protection Solutions was established 8 years ago. This is a technology-based company to assist conservation and protected areas to combat wildlife crime.
This is the Kapama Private Game Reserve, where Tom Kutsia began his career as a ranger 25 years ago. Today, Kapama incorporates 13,000 hectares of pristine African bush and some of South Africa's most endangered wildlife.
We've got our own team of software engineers and developers, and together with two different software companies that specializes in artificial intelligence, we managed to train the technology to identify threats through using trail cameras. It then uses GSM signal. It sends the photographs all through to our software program based in Denver. It goes through the algorithms and then sends back anything that it picks up as a threat.
The Wildlife Protection Solution team have developed an app that they call WPS Watch. It allows volunteers to become wildlife crime fighters from the comfort of their own homes.
People from anywhere across the world can apply to become a volunteer.
Volunteers help sift through thousands of trail cam photographs. And once an incursion is detected, the control room is immediately notified and an anti-poaching unit is dispatched.
The importance of technology in conservation is becoming huge. It brings down the workload of the people on the ground. It makes them more effective and time efficient. And I think you can't really put a value to that sort of thing.
Thinking of banking in Africa? Think Zenith. In today's fast-moving, fast-changing world, you need a financial partner that understands your unique expectations. A bank with presence in major financial centers across the world, with the enabling platform to facilitate seamlessly whenever, wherever, however. A bank with best-in-class financial solutions from a superb combination of technology and human touch for easy, fast and secure banking that creates real value. Turning dreams into reality is now in your hands. People, technology, service. Zenith Bank, in your best interest.
Class of 2021, join us as we come together to celebrate you. With congrats from your favorite stars, musical performances, plus a special message from VP Kamala Harris. Graduation 2021, a CNN special event, Monday on CNN.
In South Africa's KwaZulu-Natal province, conservationists are using technology to monitor and ultimately save two of the continent's at-risk species, the Temminck's pangolin and the critically endangered African painted dog. Pippa Orpen works with Wildlife Act, an organization that, along with community education and empowerment, focuses on anti-poaching measures, technology, and endangered species monitoring.
We collect data, and the more data we collect, the more we understand those species, and we can then mitigate problems that have caused previous decline.
In 2005, the community-owned Somkanda Game Reserve was the first declared under South Africa's Protected Areas Management Act, committing land from the local community to conservation.
20,000 hectares was given back to the people, and a part of that is Somkanda. It's taken a while to rewild it.
After the successful introduction of rhino, elephant, and lion, Somkanda became a so-called Big Five reserve, and today is also home to a pack of endangered African painted dogs.
In order to understand painted dogs, they need to be monitored. We need to collect data so that we can make informed management decisions.
Although one of the continent's most successful hunters, the African painted dog is Southern Africa's most endangered predator, and they frequently fall victim to snares.
That's a big problem for us, which is why we monitor them intensively, and that's what allows us to conserve them.
Pippa uses a number of tracking devices on collars, some developed by Wildlife Act specifically for the African painted dogs.
Our tracking collars have a VHF component, a satellite component, and often an anti-snare device attached to the collar. The VHF component on the collar allows me to physically track an animal with the collar on. The satellite component allows us to remotely monitor an individual. The one that I use allows me to log onto my computer and have a look at the GPS points that have been uploaded.
For those working with endangered species like these, knowing where the animals are is critical.
Technology plays a huge part in intensive monitoring, data capture, remotely monitoring a satellite collar, finding the animals with the telemetry. We couldn't do any of that without technology.
Meanwhile, at the nearby Pinder Private Game Reserve, ecologist Craig Sholto Douglas is tracking two very special animals.
Pinder's had a long history with conservation research and management, and particularly incorporating technology. It started back from 1991 when we got our first animals that arrived at Pinder. The cheetah project was pioneering at the time. Lions were fairly new to this area, and particularly being reintroduced into a previously extinct population. And then some of our more recent projects, our rhino project is really, really remarkable, and that's involved a lot of monitoring and a lot of tracking tools.
Of these, none is more at risk than a relatively recent introduction to the reserve.
These particular pangolins have all been through hell and back. They've all been poached, they've all been recovered from the trade and sting operations. The fortunate few that are are then transferred to the Johannesburg Wildlife Veterinary Hospital and the expert care of the team there, they have a fighting chance, and they have an extensive rehabilitation process ahead of them.
Today, 400 miles away, wildlife rehabilitation specialist Nikki Wright is in a secure, undisclosed location, foraging with a pangolin known as Tot.
This pangolin was born at the Johannesburg Wildlife Vet, and her mother had come in, a female that was pregnant, and she was unfortunately not well enough to be released in her pregnant state. And one morning we opened her box and found this pup.
The pup is now 6 months old, and soon it too will be heading to Phinda to be released. But today, Craig is tracking an adult female Nikki rehabilitated.
The female pangolin Pafuri, who came into the Johannesburg Wildlife Vet after she'd been confiscated from the illegal trade, we found her to be pregnant because we did a sonar on her.
Once recovered and rehabilitated, Pafuri was released at Phinda, pregnant, and the team held their breath.
Because all of these pangolins have previously been in the trade, in the illegal wildlife trade, they often have underlying conditions that only present themselves well after they've been released. And so part of our long-term rehabilitation and monitoring protocols is we do routine weighing.
It was during one such weighing when a sudden weight loss was discovered.
That's when they suspected that there was a pup, and that's when they started monitoring her very carefully and putting up camera traps.
Yeah, we got the first image of that female with a pangolin pup on her back, and that was the moment we knew that she'd given birth to a pup. The pup has survived, and it was looking strong and healthy.
So it's the first birth of a pup from a confiscated pregnant female pangolin. So it's huge excitement, and of course, as you know, Phinda means the return.
The return of pangolins to Phinda requires an entire team, including law enforcement, veterinarians, and rehabilitation experts, as well as the capability to find and monitor these elusive, gentle creatures.
This wouldn't have been possible 10 years ago because we wouldn't have had the technology to track and monitor them like we do today.
For Craig, as for many fighting to save endangered species, there is hope and a clear way forward.
As more and more pressure is being put on the remaining wildlife and conservation areas, we have to find more and more ways to protect these areas, and that requires innovation and technology.
Inside Africa, in association with Zenith Bank.